He's one of the most successful singers in the world. He went, maybe I can act, which is the same error that Mariah Carey made.
I can't describe how beautiful Zendaya was in real life. Like, it wasn't right.
The best people among us have performed at shopping centres.
She would just put in one contact lens and decide that would have to be good enough for the day.
Whatever happened to flash mobs?
Yeah,
like
more
you're
of
just
them.
standing there and your body is coursing with cringe.
Hello, I am Jessie Stevens. I'm Claire Stevens. Hello.
And we cannot emphasise enough that this is not a neuroscience lecture right now, is it?
No, if you thought it was, we're very sorry because this is the opposite.
Yeah, you're going to get dumber by sitting here, I think. We know this building though, don't we, Claire?
Yes, we had all sorts of lectures in here, and what we learnt here was research skills.
We did. We can synthesise information.
We know how to footnote things like TikTok videos,
Yep.
unsubstantiated celebrity gossip. We learned that.
We also know how to forge a medical certificate because our assignment is 3 days late because we procrastinated by accident.
Yes.
That is a joke for legal purposes.
We would never. We would never. We are everything that our lecturers dreamed that we would be. We are hosts of a comedy pop culture podcast that examines the real issues of the day, from conspiracy theories about one Beyonce Knowles
to the life and times of 11-year-old Northwest, who we are terrified of.
to how many Diet Cokes President Donald Trump actually drinks in a day.
12.
It's 12. And that's the most relatable thing about him.
Makes me like him slightly more.
Yeah.
Before we jump into today's celebrity, we just wanted to ask first if there are any lazy girls in the audience. Anyone who identifies? Yes.
Love
Okay.
it. Because we thought, we were worried coming in here. We were like, well, no one's going to be on time because they're lazy. And they would have stopped to get a donut.
It's notoriously hard to get lazy girls to show up anywhere, even if it's free. When they had to register, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
there's a step.
That's a barrier. And a few messages being like, no, registering's quite hard. I have to wait for an email. And I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah, they don't know their password.
No,
They do not know their password. We should take a minute to explain the origins of lazy girls, because when we meet a cancelled listener in the street, they stop us and they say, I'm a lazy girl. And then they give us a lazy girl story often.
They do. And I believe it all started with Mariah Carey. So she is a certified lazy girl, and it was New Year's Eve. She was performing in Times Square, literally doing a dance routine very badly. And
At one point she said, lift me, but then she didn't lift. She just kind of went up on her tippy toes and was like, nah, I can't be fucked.
Yeah. And halfway through the performance, she said, and I quote, I wanted a holiday too, can't I just have one? And it's like, ma'am, you are currently performing and you are being paid a lot of money.
But we heard that story and we went, it's relatable. It's relatable. And she's not the only lazy girl. There's also Meghan Markle, who loves to start a project and not finish it. Again, highly relatable.
So likable, because I get it. You're like, here's my podcast. And then you're like, yeah. Quite hard to continue to do it.
She's very, I'm launching a podcast network, and then very, there's no second season.
Yeah, very that. But the ultimate lazy girl we've discovered through our podcast is
Brooklyn Beckham.
Yes. So there was the time he released a photo book of really lazy photos. He pretended he wanted to be a chef for like half a day.
And then I think there was a wedding that he didn't contribute to at all. And then the group text got leaked and it was just him being like, where is it? What day?
No idea.
Also slightly relatable.
Yeah. We are lazy girls. And in a very unlazy girl move, last year we both had babies and they are also lazy girls.
Your little lazy girl, she's old enough, should be crawling, but she won't crawl. Yep. She'll exclusively wriggle like a fish. She looks like a fish that's on a line that's just going like this. And she gets from A to B, but she knows she doesn't have to crawl.
Haters will say she should see the baby physio. And I say, I'm too lazy. Can your baby walk?
No, she cannot walk, because she has learned that you can get everything you need from sitting in the same spot and just yelling.
Yeah. Lazy girl hack. Well, I have brought a lazy girl story from one of our listeners that I thought I'd read out to you. So we have lazy girls submit their stories to us, and we usually start the show with one of them. So this is from Christina. I have a story about a fellow lazy girlfriend. Recently, we were talking about her new glasses and how it was actually her first time having glasses, as she usually wears contact lenses. I was initially very impressed because contact lenses are quite a lot to manage, but then she told me that sometimes when she was tired, she would just put in one contact lens and decide that would have to be good enough for the day. That's genius.
That's the smartest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That makes me think, why do we put on 2 shoes and not one and hop?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so true.
It also makes me think that if lazy girls ruled the world, wow, they'd solve some problems. Because it's creative problem solving, it's work smarter, not harder. The problem is, a lazy girl wouldn't put her hand up.
No, she's too lazy.
Elon Musk has never been a lazy girl's like, I could, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I'd rather not. But look, we should get stuck into today's show. Hello and welcome to Cancelled, the lazy girl's guide to bizarre celebrity cancellations. On today's episode, we are talking about Zendaya. And I can guess what you're thinking. You can't cancel Zendaya. And we know that will become evident. But Zendaya Marie Stormer Coleman, I saw a TikTok where the challenge was, what's her last name? And so if anyone ever asks you, if you get that at trivia, Coleman. You wouldn't guess it. She's an American actress and singer. She's won 2 Primetime Emmy Awards and a Golden Globe. And in 2022, Time named her one of the 100 most influential people in the world.
This is we were trying to appeal to Gen Z.
Oh, it's so shameless. We're like university young Zendaya. There's no way she could have had the name Zendaya and not been famous.
No, that name says, it's like being named Prince. I don't think that was his real name.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be famous if you're Claire Stevens.
Absolutely
You're not going to be like The Greatest Showman, starring Claire.
Yeah. No, it was always going to be Zendaya. She's the youngest of 6 kids, and she began her career as a backup dancer and child model, which makes sense given that she looked like this. She's so beautiful.
She's so beautiful. We don't want to objectify, and
But
we don't want to
damn.
objectify children. She's got a beautiful face.
She does. And sometimes we get sad that we were never discovered as children. And like it haunts us. Like I'm like, why was I never walking down the street? And someone was like,
We talk
I
about
put
it
you on
often
television.
on the podcast because it's in every origin story, even with like Brad Pitt. He was, I swear, on a bus to Hollywood.
and he just fell into like a blockbuster. Like because of his face.
Someone stopped him and went, you need to be the most famous man in the world.
Yeah.
And he was like, I know. That's why I was coming here.
Yeah. I swear people just like take a step inside Hollywood and they're like, here is a movie, here is a starring role. And that never happened to us in West Ryde. Nobody ever looked at us and went, yeah, there's a stage, we'll put you on it. We really had to fight. But I think that maybe that's because when we were children, we looked like this.
So I know that one topic of today's kind of episode will be euphoria and drug use.
Yeah.
I look at those images and I'm like, I think we could have been cast.
Actually, yeah. Just like wrong end of the tracks type thing. Yes. And I also then remembered that so that was one disadvantage.
Yeah.
But then our personalities were like this. And it's like...
the Gen Zs talk about Riz.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it on a podcast once with one of my co-hosts on Mum Mia Out Loud, and she just went, you don't have Riz.
Yeah, no.
I went, no, I don't, do I? I never had it. Not a lot of charisma. Not a lot of
Energy.
personality. Again, laziness doesn't make for a triple threat.
No,
we
it
were not a
doesn't.
triple threat.
It doesn't. So I think you can see why we were never on the Disney Channel. Okay. Anywho, Zendaya made her television debut at 14 as Rocky Blue in the Disney Channel sitcom Shake It Up. And then she starred as Casey Cooper in Casey Undercover. Never heard of it. She went on to make her feature film debut in Spiderman Homecoming as MJ, opposite Tom Holland, and the sequels Far From Home and No Way Home. One of mine and Jessie's enduring fights is whether there have been enough Spider-Mans. Yeah. And I say no. Every time there's a new Spider-Man, it blows my mind. I love them.
Too many. When you told me Andrew Garfield had been in a Spider-Man,
Yeah.
I was like, when?
Yeah.
Like every man in Hollywood has been a Spider-Man.
No, they haven't.
But I think when I look at that image, I think, you know, people talk about millennials and Gen Z and when were you born and how you differentiate. The true way to differentiate between a millennial and a Gen Z is to ask, were you Disney or were you Nickelodeon? Because as a millennial, we were all Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And I made the error of marrying a Gen Z. And Nick and Cody, what's that?
No, Zach and Cody. You don't even know what it is. Zach and Cody.
That's so Raven.
There were all these duos that I've never heard of.
I've never heard of any of them. They say things that Shake It Up you just talked about. Hannah Montana.
Yeah,
Never
no.
watched it. And then I bring up in passing Amanda Bynes.
Yeah.
And he's like, who's that?
And it's like
Mate.
the person who informed my childhood and whose life I am very sad about now, actually. But Zendaya is perhaps best known for her role as Rue Bennett in Euphoria, which she's played since 2019. She's also starred in the films The Greatest Showman, Challenges, Dune, and Dune Part 2. She has a music career as well. She's released singles like Swag It Out, Watch Me, and Replay, which we'll get to. And her collaboration of Rewrite the Stars with Zac Efron from The Greatest Showman went multi-platinum globally. She's also written and performed several songs for Euphoria. Jessie, my structure for today is as follows. The time I interviewed her. Euphoria glorifying drug use. Her feud with Sam Levinson. That awkward rap battle moment. Breaking a relationship rule. And dancing in malls. Let's get stuck in.
We learnt about structure at university.
We did. We actually learned how to structure like an essay and then we use it for our podcast. Okay, so you might be asking, hold on, isn't this about the time you interviewed Zendaya? Why are there photos of Zac Efron there? Well, I'm a terrible feminist, that's why. Jessie, can you believe I've gone this far without mentioning the time I interviewed Zendaya?
You don't bring it up enough.
Yeah, I bring it up in most episodes. Anyway, I interviewed her in a purely professional setting. I sat opposite her for something like 8 minutes when her and Zac Efron were promoting The Greatest Showman. And a few years ago, I realised that somebody on YouTube had like stolen the video for their YouTube channel and it's gone super viral because apparently they were flirting.
That's awkward because the story you told when you came back from the interview was that you and Zach were flirting.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, oh my God, look at the chemistry. And none of the comments say anything about me.
Well, they do say things about you, but it's not about the chemistry.
No, you'll see what they say. But it has many millions of views. So let's start at the beginning. It was 2017. It was the day before my birthday, which is also the day before your birthday. And I was getting an early birthday present. Someone at Mamma Mia, our workplace, had made a terrible mistake. They had given me the opportunity to interview Zac Efron and Zendaya in The Greatest Showman, aka a flawless film that brings nothing but joy to the people who watch it. I really like The Greatest Showman. But this was an error because I am heinously obsessed with Zac Efron. It ain't right. I think that movies such as Bad Neighbours and relatedly Bad Neighbours 2 are works of art. I think his comic timing is vastly underestimated. I think he's a wonderful singer, dancer, performer, and I believed that he would see me, recognition would dawn on his face, and he would realise we were meant for each other, and that would be the beginning of the greatest love story of all time. I thought I would abandon my partner, whom I had been with for 10 years at that point, now I have a child with. I was like, we're done. I'm meeting Zac. This was problematic because, as I mentioned, I was interviewing Zac Efron and Zendaya. And it's like, you have Zendaya sitting there, and meanwhile, I'm like, when are we getting married, Zac? Chop, chop. But none of that mattered.
It is very the Wicked interview where the Australian interviewer only interviewed Ariana.
Yeah.
And was like, when's your album coming out? How about your fragrance line? And Cynthia was like, literally Elphaba.
Yeah, yeah, very that. I was that person. But the joke was on me because this happened. Okay, so while Zac Efron and Zendaya looked like that, for some reason I was the oiliest, sweatiest person who had ever been on camera.
So no one had told you
About powder.
about powder.
No.
And when you go on television or in front of lights, You think you look glowy.
Yeah.
And then the lights turn on and you are slick. You are wet.
Yes.
Wet.
Yeah.
And our skin, not good under lights.
No.
When I've done television, they come in the ad breaks and they go to powder me and I look at them and I go, are we all powdering?
Yeah.
No, the others don't need powder. I need powder.
Only you need
because I'm
powder.
always hot.
But I walked out of that interview, obviously starstruck, and I can't describe how beautiful Zendaya was in real life. Like, it wasn't right.
We can see that.
No, she was more beautiful than that. So beautiful.
She's so well powdered.
Yeah. And she just glows, as does Zach. But I remember I got back to the office and I refused to wash the hand that I had shaken Zac Efron's hand with. I think I took a photo of it. I still have it in my phone.
This is pre-COVID, isn't it?
Yeah. So I was like, beautiful. But I came back to the office and everyone's like, oh, how was Zendaya? And I was like, she was looking at her phone when I walked in the room. And I was really rude about her. Like, obviously not in any public capacity, just in a purely gossip capacity. I was like, she was on her phone, and then I interviewed her, and like, she was lovely, but did she need to be looking at her phone? And 6 years on, I have some feedback for myself. Firstly, Claire, you are literally always on your phone. You cannot be judging people who are on their phone. Secondly, she was 22 years old. Zac Efron is like a decade older. So if he was a bit more media trained, that would be why. But the other thing is, and this is something we have found doing this podcast over, how many years? You reckon 3 years we've been doing this?
3 or 4, yeah.
Yep. We are just so hard on women, aren't we? It's really
We
screwed
find
up.
interesting data point behind the scenes for cancelled listeners. When we do an episode on a man, he gets about 20% less downloads because people prefer it if they feel like we're going to have a go at a woman. They're like, oh, I want that.
Yeah.
That's how I want to spend my weekend.
Yeah, and I was guilty of it. And she was lovely. She was perfectly lovely. But I was like, I don't know about that. But I think I was just jealous because Zach was more interested in her than me, in hindsight.
I also want to say that I got my colour season done recently and I was told that with our colouring we are never to wear black because it makes us look sick and tired.
And I think you're right. I think it does nothing for me. Oh, God, it's just so tragic. But yeah, no, some of the comments were about, was it really hot that day? Stuff like that. So that was the time I interviewed Zendaya. Euphoria glorifying drug use. Jessie, we have both seen every episode of Euphoria, but for those who haven't, Euphoria is an American teen drama TV series created and written by Sam Levinson for HBO. This will become relevant. We'll get back to Sam. But it stars Zendaya, Maud Apatow, Hunter Schafer, Sydney Sweeney, and the beautiful and Australian Jacob Elordi, who I think about a lot. I sound really predatory today. I didn't mean to. But Jacob Elordi and Saltburn. Come on. Anyway, Euphoria follows Rue Bennett, Zendaya, a troubled teenage drug addict who struggles to get sober, and a broader cast of main characters who deal with relationships and family dynamics and so on. It's set and filmed in California, and it's received all this praise for its cinematography and performances, and it's the 4th most watched HBO series in history, behind Game of Thrones, The Last of Us, and House of the Dragon. And, I didn't know this, but it shares the same universe as Levinson's 2023 series, The Idol, which we'll get to. But Euphoria has been criticised for glorifying drug use, mostly because Zendaya suffers with addiction, but she's very beautiful and very cool and somewhat aspirational to a young audience.
I don't think that's her fault.
I
I
know.
think she's meant to look messy and dishevelled, but I just always want to look like Zendaya. In any context, I'm going to find her aspirational.
Yeah, Zendaya, messy and dishevelled, is us after like 4 days of hair and makeup.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like one scene where I guess people say it sort of lightens the idea of somebody having drug issues.
I just smoked a little bit of weed. Wait, what? You keep going. I'm just gonna say it for a second.
She's often running into things, often going to hospital.
There was a quote that I saw. It was the advocacy group Parents, Television and Media Council called Euphoria dark, depraved, degenerate and nihilistic. And I read that and I went, if I had to choose 4 adjectives to describe teenagers, those 4 adjectives would probably be dark, depraved, degenerate, and nihilistic.
Yeah.
We always say we want more media about teens, and then every time we see it, we're like, well,
Not
that's
that.
bleak. It's
And
like,
then-
no shit, things aren't good
Yeah.
for the teens.
And then you watch Seventh Heaven and we mock it because it's silly. But in an article in Time titled What Euphoria Gets Right and Wrong About Teen Drug Use and Addiction, Tara Law argues that while the show does a good job of tackling the fact that drug use is not rare among adolescents and the chaos that addiction can cause, it doesn't do well at showing the range of options people have to help them recover from substance use disorder. In the show's defence, that wouldn't make for amazing TV. But apparently the best options for recovery aren't explored. And one of them that is cited in this article is that there's a medication for opioid use disorder called buprenorphine, which reduces cravings and withdrawal symptoms. And that is so important. But I just don't know if seeing Zendaya try a medication to help with her opioid use is just that great for television.
This criticism of fiction, where it's like, why doesn't she just try a successful treatment, overlooks the point of fiction.
Yeah.
It's always like, I've found this, it's like saying with Harry Potter, well, why don't Harry and Voldemort just get along?
Yeah. Why don't they just get on the phone and sort out their differences?
Because then there's not 7 books, there's 3 terrible chapters that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
We need the tension. Why don't Romeo and Juliet just text and say, I'm
not
still
dead.
alive?
Yeah. FYI, still alive.
FYI, still alive. It would all be sorted. Terrible fiction.
Yeah.
What we need is our characters to make very bad decisions. Because that's also, you know where else bad decisions happen? Life.
Yeah.
It mirrors life. We need Rue not to get better.
I know.
Because we need a second season because it makes the production company millions of dollars.
I know. And we do often have to say on this show, like, Euphoria is fictional. It isn't real. It is just a story. Yep. It is made up. You can't really get mad at it because it's not real.
It's also helpful because when a few years ago, I broke my leg while in the Northern Territory. And I went 8 hours and there wasn't any pain relief. And then the Royal Flying Doctor Service came and they landed and they explained what drugs they had available. And Claire was able to translate.
Yeah.
Because you were like, fentanyl? I know about that from Euphoria.
I said, oh my God, when Zendaya takes fentanyl, she just passes out. Like, it is just great.
That's the one you want. Up the dose.
Yeah.
You need to calm down.
Yeah. I knew all about it. But I think, in conclusion, we don't think Zendaya is obliged to solve the opioid epidemic in the United States.
No, I like Euphoria. I think it's a vibe.
Yeah, I think so too. Jessie, her feud with Sam Levinson. I promised we would come back to him. I mentioned before that another Sam Levinson show, The Idol, shares the same universe as Euphoria. And I didn't know this, and I think no one would know this because no one's watched The Idol in full. Because it is terrible and appalling and very bad.
It stars The Weeknd, doesn't it?
The Weeknd.
Who I refer to as The Weeknd, because there's no E.
There's no E. The Weeknd. I have only seen clips of The Idol on TikTok. It's the only way it's been absorbed by the culture. And I would imagine Zendaya has only seen clips on TikTok because she's mad about it. Let me explain. There have been 2 very highly successful seasons of Euphoria, and everyone's been waiting for this 3rd season. But rumours are that Levinson's obsession with The Idol, which was released in 2023, pushed the 3rd season of Euphoria back, and Zendaya's pissed about it. An investigation in The Hollywood Reporter, published in July of this year, claims that the tension between Zendaya and Levinson has actually lengthened the delay in going forward with Euphoria's 3rd season. And they used to be really close and now they're not. And basically Zendaya got very frustrated when he went all in on The Idol, and she went to HBO executives and was like, guys, we've got a good show, we want a third season. And he was preoccupied. The Idol was created by Levinson and Abel Tesfaye, aka The Weeknd, and it focuses on a female pop star, Jocelyn, played by Lily Rose Depp, who's Johnny Depp's daughter. And she's in a relationship with Tedros, played by The Weeknd, who is a sleazy nightclub owner, self-help guru and cult leader, and is, in a word, so gross. It was originally being directed by a woman. Then Sam Levinson took over and took it in a different direction. And basically, it was going to be this exploration of women being exploited in the music industry. And then Sam Levinson was like, but why don't we make it a degrading love story from the man's perspective? And everyone was like, because that's terrible. But that's what they made.
It strikes me as, when you're working on a group project and you're on a Zoom call and there's like 15 of you and you go, wow, imagine if you were in charge. Like the worst person in the room was the boss. I think that happened.
It actually had to be completely reshot. So they filmed it. They looked at early versions of it, and Levinson and The Weeknd hated it. And Jess and I, we have written and helped produce an Australian TV show. And I cannot stress how much of a drama it would be to reshoot. It's just bizarre. So I can't imagine what the original looked like given what we saw.
I think my theory is that the original was good and they blew it all up. And they undid everything that was good about it and made it into what has been described as the worst television show in HBO history.
Yes. So here are some of the reactions. It was absolutely panned, cancelled after one season. People were so upset. And my favourite hobby is to go on IMDb and read reviews of bad shows. I spend a lot of time there. And this is what people have written about The Idol, which it's got 4.4 out of 10, actually better than I thought. No substance. This gives me high school play vibes with lots of nudity, sex, and shock value with absolutely no content. This is really bad. The plot is incredibly not interesting. I was tired after 10 minutes, but thought I would give it the benefit of the doubt. At 20 minutes, something inside of me was breaking.
I like how this feels like a journal entry.
The dialogue is like an AI idea of what human dialogue should be. This is really embarrassing for everyone involved.
I like this one. Worse than you've heard. Just to be clear, what we'd heard, this is a review from The Guardian, featuring a performance from The Weeknd that should be tried at The Hague, which is the International Criminal Court.
Yeah.
Worse than that.
Yeah.
They say when James Madison wrote the Bill of Rights to the US Constitution, he would have left out freedom of speech and expression if he had seen this.
Cringeworthy. It is impossible to believe that this show is from the same network as Succession and White Lotus. Someone definitely needs to get fired. Ridiculous plotline, horrific acting. Levinson and Abel need to be on a watch list. The other thing is, on IMDb, all these people were like, I created a profile just to leave this review. There were so many who were like, why did I have to create a profile just to leave this? I'm like, you did that. I'm just reading them. You could also just read them.
I wondered if to bring it back to Zendaya, because she is a triple threat, I worry that she has inspired
The
Weeknd over here to believe he might be a triple threat. Before going into this, we knew he could sing. He's one of the most successful singers in the world. He went, maybe I can act, which is the same error that Mariah Carey made.
Yeah, in Glitter.
And then they go and give it a go and they go, you know what? Don't worry, I can't.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened here. And so Zendaya and Sam Levinson had this huge falling out because now Euphoria Season 3 isn't even meant to start filming until 2025. And meanwhile, we were all assaulted by The Idol. It was awful. Jessie, that awkward rap battle moment. Oh, this is a GIF. That kind of shows people's response. Guys, remember Matt Rife? He went viral last year for things such as saying non-ironically that being too hot was hurting his comedy career, and releasing a Netflix special where he made a domestic violence joke about a woman with a black eye that genuinely wasn't funny, and also a bunch of jokes about women being obsessed with astrology that also wasn't funny. Anyway, it turns out that in 2015, he was on a show called Wild and Out, one of those weird American shows that has rules that don't make any sense. Basically, one person from each team has to hold water in their mouths while members of another team try to make them laugh. And a clip of Matt Rife trying to make Zendaya laugh resurfaced last year. And I need to emphasise this point before we play the video. It's meant to be comedy. It's meant to be teams of comedians making a celebrity guest laugh so they spit out the water. Here's the video.
Let's make a lifestyle movie. Spit that water out so I can get your number, please. I didn't touch it. She can handle herself.
Keep your hands off her, man. Don't be touching on her like that. She's too young.
I'm really glad that you gave context that was comedy.
Yeah.
He reminds me of like a 5-year-old that says he didn't eat all the Easter eggs when he has chocolate on his nose.
Yeah.
We just saw you touch her face. And
Yes.
he's like, I didn't touch it. Why are you talking like that?
Why are you talking like that? At the beginning, it's cut off a little bit, but at the beginning he says, look, you're mixed, I want to be black, let's make a lifestyle movie. There's nothing funny about that. And it's offensive and weird and it doesn't even make sense. But mostly it's not funny. So poor Zendaya, it's unclear why he had to say anything about her race, and it's gross that he's hitting on her, but I think the most painful thing is that she was subjected to that attempt at comedy.
There are just so many subpar men around Zendaya that she always looks exasperated.
Yeah.
Like she knows how much of a fail that man is.
Yeah. It's like we talk on Cancelled about the people you cancel along the way, because often you'll be talking about someone and there's just someone who did something weird at one point. Yeah. Matt Rife, you cancel him along the way. Sam Levinson, The Weeknd. You cancel them all along the way. Breaking a relationship rule. Tom Holland, aka Spiderman, and Zendaya have been dating since 2021. Side note, when we were backstage before, I think Zendaya dated Jacob Elordi.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. Our very own.
Our very own, yes. But every now and
Remember when he got in a fight at the Coogee?
did he get in a fight with Kyle Sandler? No, I made that up. He got in.
No, he did.
Yeah.
Their producer who was like, give us some bath water.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
It wasn't even relevant because, oh no, it was because he was in the bath.
Yeah. Australia is disgusting. Anyway.
We always upset people and they never come back.
Yeah. Even when they belong here. It's so bad. But every now and then the internet loses it because they remember that Zendaya and her boyfriend have a height difference. And they're like, whoa. So, some genuine headlines include, yes, she's tall. Every time Tom Holland and Zendaya addressed their height difference. That's not content. Anyway, he's not the kind of insecure guy to care. The obvious height difference between Tom Holland and Zendaya is one of the reasons that makes them the it couple of Hollywood. The grammar is just, there's too many words. Is it that significant? It's just not that significant.
You know what we don't get? We don't get headlines about like Simone Biles and her basketball boyfriend who I think is about 7 foot.
Yeah.
She's about 4 foot. We've got a human in between both of them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
And
you do.
still,
Yeah.
we're not panicking. With these two, it's like,
Let's panic.
how do you kiss?
Yeah. How does it work logistically?
Have you ever looked each other in the eye?
Yeah. Another headline, Zendaya and Tom Holland break stereotypes. How their height difference strengthens their love story. Who are
What we
these
need? We do
people?
need more representation, in all seriousness, for short men.
Short men. Short kings.
Short kings.
We
Short
do.
kings,
We
exactly
do.
right. This is really important to short men to believe that they too can be with tall, beautiful women.
Yes. On the 2021 press circuit for Spider-Man No Way Home, Zendaya and Tom Holland were repeatedly asked to address their height difference. In one interview,
What do they expect them to say?
I don't know. It's just not a lot there. So in one interview, Tom Holland was asked, in Far From Home, when MJ and Peter kiss, Zendaya, you're taller than Tom. It became this thing. Tom interjected, not that much taller, he said. Let's put this out there. Maybe like an inch or two at best. It's not like people say, like, how did you guys kiss? It must have been so difficult. And then the interviewer butted in, was like, yeah, it's so misogynistic when people talk about height differences. It's so screwed up. It's so problematic.
You brought it up, mate.
It's like, you brought it up.
That is a classic interviewer / there's this internet thing where you put it out there and you're like, I think it's so offensive how everyone's talking about their height difference. And it's like, you brought it up.
Yeah, it's so weird. And then people get really passionate about it. So here's a comment on Reddit. There's a whole Reddit thread about like their height difference, where I guess when it comes up, people just go there and have a discussion about it.
Remember in one Spiderman movie, the only one that ever should have been made, where they kiss upside down?
Yeah.
So there's an upside down and there's a Tobey Maguire upright.
Yeah, Kirsten Dunst.
I feel like there are more questions about how they kiss than how the mechanics of that kiss
the
came
upside down
about.
kiss, yeah. One comment on this Reddit thread said, I'm so tired of the Holland Zendaya height difference meme. Every one of those pictures she's wearing high heels, and even then it's like a 3-inch difference. Y'all are fawning over a 5'8" dude dating a woman who wears shoes like this is some colossus victory for short dudes. Yeah, Tom is confident and chill and doesn't seem to care, but they are literally nearly the same height. Someone else said, being short comes with many struggles and disadvantages, no doubt.
This man's 5'1".
Some tall people just don't understand because it's not their reality. But being tall isn't the single key to success. I feel like I wrote that. Someone else wrote, I'm a Marvel fan, so with No Way Home being the next big Marvel movie release and the positive reaction to Holland being shorter and him addressing it, it's just nice to see the positive reactions. This isn't like a cultural thing to talk about. You're on the internet too much. You need to get off.
He is a slightly below average white man. He's fine.
He's doing fine. Everyone's fine. He's 5'8", Zendaya's 5'10". Everyone's okay.
5'8" might be completely normal.
Yeah, totally average. But this is what happens when people spend too much time on the internet. We make things out of nothing.
I think he might have put 6'1" on his dating app.
Oh, yeah.
And it caused confusion.
Yeah, I think so too. Jessie, dancing in malls. Now, when I was prepping for this episode, I mentioned to a Gen Z producer in our office that we were cancelling Zendaya, and she laughed and said, oh my gosh, yes, when she danced in malls. And I said, what? And she said, you know, when she danced in shopping centres with Bella Thorne. And I'm like, what is a Bella Thorne? I am not aware of any of this. But don't
Does
you worry.
anyone here know who Bella Thorne is?
Yeah.
Look at the collagen.
Yeah.
Look, they're so
I
so
know.
young. They're
Everybody
so
knows
beautiful.
Bella Thorne. Oh, the skin. There was a Disney show called Shake It Up, starring Zendaya and Bella Thorne, about the adventures of two girls as they starred as background dancers on a local show, Shake It Up Chicago. It needs to be said that someone at Disney runs a farm that A, creates boys who look exactly the same with the same haircut, B, creates girls who are wildly talented, and C, exploits these children for the purposes of capitalism. Because in addition to the Shake It Up show, there was obviously a soundtrack called Shake It Up, Break It Down.
I feel as though my Gen Z husband probably owns that.
Yeah, I think so too. This was Zendaya and Bella Thorne dancing in a shopping centre to their music.
This is too painful to watch.
Firstly, the hustle.
Is that a Bella Thorne?
That's a Bella Thorne. Yes.
The best people among us have performed at shopping centres. I'm talking Delta Goodrem.
Yeah.
I'm talking Guy Sebastian.
Yes.
Human nature would slap a Westfield.
Yeah.
I
they
feel
would.
as though it is a sign of the hustle, of work ethic, of like growing your career.
Yeah, there's a comment on this that says, bring back low-stakes small venue tours for artist development. And I agree. I think they should be like performing like here.
Well, bring back going to Westfield on the weekend to go, you're going to Just Cuts for a haircut.
Yeah.
And boom, Zendaya's hustling.
Yeah.
Like you just have someone, I remember going to Westfield one day. You know who was performing? Who? Nikki Webster.
Oh
Nikki
my
Webster,
gosh.
just next to the food court. Just standing there with my McDonald's like, cheers, Nikki.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. Well, I also think like people kind of make fun of Zendaya about this dancing because it's quite wild and intense. But we did far more embarrassing things as teenagers. And thank God no one gave us a stage.
Yeah, well, we did our Men in Black Year 8 dance.
Yeah.
Which we still remember.
Yeah, all the moves.
And
all
it was
the moves.
nowhere near as good as that. The other thing we could bring back in shopping centres is like a low-grade model search.
Oh my god!
Yeah, like 14-year-old girls
just line them
just
up.
lining up and going, "Am I hot?" and being told yes or no.
Yeah.
I feel like you and I could get a frozen Coke and watch from the sidelines and be like,
Or
fun.
the baby competitions, where it's like line up the babies, who's the most beautiful. You can't do that anymore, can
No,
you?
you can't. It's
No.
frowned upon.
Shopping malls were really like,
Would you enter your baby?
ooh. Pre-verbal yes, because she won't know when they say, honey, move along. She won't know.
Yeah, right.
Your baby,
Yeah.
what do you reckon?
She doesn't smile on cue. She's serious.
Yeah, she's a serious girl. There was also a comment about how the business casual outfits are just terrible. That was really a moment, wasn't it?
I love a white jean.
Oh, a white jeans and a nice top, some boots. They're really hustling, and honestly, I'm all for it.
I love the branding.
And when they did this, like they would have been paid for this, I reckon. And it's like, we're all dancing for free on TikTok. So who's really laughing? Not us. Then Zendaya had her own music career. She had a self-titled album with an actual banger called Replay that we have had stuck in our heads for days. We were singing it backstage. And this was her again performing in a shopping centre. I say she's excellent, and she is trying to create art in a place devoid of art, which is a shopping centre.
It's very Troye Sivan.
It is. It is.
I like, because they say that Disney stars love to dance with their knees.
Yes.
And that's
yes.
whatever they train, what I would do to get trained by Disney.
Yeah.
Because that's where she went, to Disney, let's
farm.
call it School of Arts.
Yep.
Sabrina Carpenter. Was Ariana Grande Disney or Nickelodeon?
I don't understand.
She was one of them, but she can dance.
Yeah.
What I would have done.
The talent. The interesting thing about that as well is that no one realises they're witnessing greatness. So like the people above who are looking over, they think that they're just like, oh, Mum, like, can we get donuts? Like, I'm in the shopping centre. And it's like, that is Zendaya. You are watching her dance to a banger.
For free.
For free. And the guy in the blue shirt is all of us, in that we're standing there. We're not moving because we know we don't have the talent to join in, but we're really appreciating it.
You know what I just recalled from a shopping centre, I reckon, 10, 15 years ago? I'm minding my own business, going into Typo or something, and flash mob.
Oh, that was so a
Whatever
thing.
happened to flash mobs?
Yeah,
like
more
you're
of
just
them.
standing there and your body is coursing with cringe and you can't stop watching because you're like, are you embarrassed? I'm embarrassed. Do I? Oh. And then I forgot about this. Then the random passers-by join.
Because they're like, I can be part of it. And it's like, you don't know the routine.
This isn't just a spontaneous dance.
Yeah.
This is an activation for a brand.
Yeah.
Someone has paid a lot of money for this. And there was like a 55-year-old woman like, oh, are we just... And I was like, no, we're not.
No, stop it. Now, Jessie, it's time for charges and sentences.
I would like to go first.
Go for it.
The biggest charge here is obviously The Idol, right? That's worst piece of television ever made, needs to be tried at the International Criminal Court. Yeah. We know that The Weeknd has to face justice, and I'd say that Sam should go too. But that is not Zendaya's crime.
No.
What Zendaya's crime is that when you're a triple threat, you can sing, you can dance, you can act. You unfortunately inspire others to try. And that's what we saw with The Weeknd.
Yeah.
He went, maybe I could. And honey, you can't.
No.
And that's what Mariah Carey has done. We've seen a lot of people do it. And I think as well, her other crime is hogging.
Yeah,
And
hogging
by
the skills. Yeah.
It is, because in doing all of those things, she's also beautiful. She's also a vegetarian. So she is better than you and me. And she's a hog in that I would like to have just one of those skills. Half a skill.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to sing.
Oh,
But I can't.
I wish I
Zendaya
could do
hogged
the
them all.
knee dance.
Me
I want
too.
to do the knee dance.
I want to practice the knee dance. I would also like to dance in a Westfield for no reason.
No.
That
Just
will
get
be
a
our
stage.
next event. My sentence is being a triple threat probably means that Sam Levinson is going to want to work with her again.
Yeah.
Right? And she was great in The Greatest Showman. I think that was some of her best work. But I think if you can sing, act, and dance, then it is your obligation to be doing all three at the same time.
Always, yeah.
You can't have those skills and only be drawing on one.
Kind of like Ariana Grande. After seeing Wicked, I'm like, you need to bring musical theatre to everything. Like,
Yeah.
I need to see these skills in motion always.
Yeah.
They bring me joy.
It's like when you see an Olympian who's also like a good public speaker and you're like, could you swim while speaking? Like it feels like such a
Yeah.
waste.
Or a gymnast who's just like walking down the street and you're like, backflip.
Yeah.
Do a backflip.
Yeah, we always say that.
Yeah.
If you can backflip,
Yeah.
why aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how I feel about
More tricks.
Zendaya is
Yep.
more tricks
Yep.
because June challenges, I don't think she sang in those.
No.
I don't even think she danced that much. And I haven't seen them,
No.
but I just didn't see it.
Challenges wasn't great. I watched 10 minutes, turned off.
So you don't know if she danced?
No, I don't think so. It was about tennis, so I don't
Okay.
think so, no.
Yeah, no. I need to see more of those skills exhibited in all of her work. That would be my sentence for her.
Okay, more singing, dancing.
Yeah.
In like Euphoria, for example. Okay, my charge. I need to go all the way back to the beginning to where I met her because I have a bone to pick. She ruined my chances with Zach.
I don't think...
I feel like she was sitting there being glowy, not oily, and she had her triple threats and she had her beautiful voice, and then the greatest love story of our time never happened between me and Zac Efron. So that's fine, but my sentence is, I'd like a second chance.
With Zach?
Well, here's the thing. Would I like an introduction to Zach? Yeah. But if that's not possible, there are two other options. One, she can introduce me to her friend, Jacob Elordi. Two, she can also introduce me to her friend, Timothy Chalamet. Either one. She's really good friends with both of them. How do you have friends who are so hot? I don't know.
And she's taken because she's with Tom for
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know.
What do you plan on doing with your husband and baby?
I don't know. They can come.
Okay.
They
Because
can
I was
come.
thinking Timothy could be a fly in and fly out
Kind of guy.
kind of affair. Because I don't think he'd be here all the time. He'd be
Working.
filming.
Yeah.
Doing Wonka too.
Wonka. Yeah, we like talking about Wonka. But yeah. Yeah, no, but I do need an introduction
I love it.
to any of those three men. I'm such a predator today.
You're a predator. You're anti-feminist.
Yeah.
And you're quite misogynistic.
Yeah.
You've made this about your relationship with hot men.
Yeah, I'm disgusting today. Disgusting.
That is actually all we have time for
Yeah.
today. Thank you so much for joining us at this live cancelled recording. We have had so much fun.
And we will say, if you haven't listened to the podcast before, or if you do, our episode next week is about Wicked / the Wicked press tour, and it was a lot of fun. And so
I wanted, while we were sitting here, to just be clutching onto your finger.
Clutch my finger.
Clutching.
Yeah. And I wanted to just be, like at the beginning, we should have been like,
Let's just hold space.
hold space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity.
Yeah.
Just shh, everybody hold space.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much fun. We
Yeah.
had to, because we want to cry about Wicked. We just don't get it.
Yeah.
And so we've been
Yeah.
trying all week to be like, we're happy to cry, but can someone explain to
Why
us
we're crying, when we're crying.
when we're crying?
Yeah.
Because we watched the whole movie and I was like, it'll be the next scene. It'll be the next scene.
Yeah.
Then I was like, I wasn't moved.
Yeah.
I loved it, but I don't know when I was meant to cry.
Everyone was crying at the end. And I was like, oh. I was sipping on my frozen Coke.
Mostly in that episode, though, we do talk about Ariana Grande and her affair.
Yeah. Which you're not meant to talk about at the moment.
You're
but
not
we
meant
had to.
But yeah,
With
she
the
had an affair with a munchkin.
Yeah. But thank you so much for joining us. We've had so much fun today.
And thank you to our incredible producer, Kimberly Bradish, for making this all happen, and to the Alumni Festival.
Thank you.